Be honest. How many times have you said, "This is the last time"? Then a few days later, or maybe even the same night, you went back again. You prayed about it. You asked God for help. You felt guilty, but somehow, you're still stuck in the same cycle. And if that's you, this video is going to explain why you keep failing and how to actually stop watching porn as a Christian. Do well to share this video to your families or friends so they learn from this video. Are you in the United States like myself or somewhere else in the world? Let me know in the comments section below. Here's something most people won't say out loud. A huge number of Christians are struggling with this. Not just tempted, stuck. People who go to church. People who pray. People who genuinely want to change. But in private, there's a completely different battle going on because this isn't just about lust anymore. This has become a pattern, a cycle. And no matter how many times you promise yourself, "I won't do it again," you find yourself right back there. On the outside, you look fine. You worship. You serve. You post Bible verses. You say the right things. But in private, there's a war, a silent one. Because this sin doesn't live in public. It lives in the dark, late at night, behind locked doors, on a glowing screen, just inches away from their face. And every time it happens, you say the same thing. This is the last time. But it never is. Here's the truth most people don't understand. You're not just dealing with sin, you're dealing with a system. Every time you watch porn, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in addiction. So your brain starts learning, "This feels good, remember this." And over time, it stops being a choice. It becomes automatic. That's why you can pray in the morning and still fall at night. Because willpower alone is not strong enough to break a system. Years ago, you had to go looking for it. Now, it lives in your pocket. 24/7 access. No barriers, no effort, no witnesses. Just you and your phone. And this is where most people fall. Not in public, not during the day, but late at night, when you're tired, alone, scrolling, and your guard is down. That's when the thought comes. Just one time, and your brain already knows the path. Open browser, type, click. It's automatic, because you've done it before. Let's make this real. Most people don't fall randomly. There's a pattern. It usually happens late at night, when you're alone, scrolling on your phone. Your brain is tired, your guard is down, and then the thought comes, just one time. And because your brain already knows the path, you don't even think. You just act. That's not weakness, that's conditioning. Here's the trap no one really talks about. Not in church, not in conversations, not even among close friends, because it's uncomfortable, it's hidden, and for many people, it feels too personal to admit out loud. But it goes like this. You watch, and in that moment, it doesn't feel like a big decision. It feels small, almost automatic, like something you've done before. So many times, your mind doesn't even question it anymore. And for a brief moment, there's relief, distraction, escape, a temporary silence from whatever you were feeling before. Stress, loneliness, boredom, pressure. It all fades, just for a moment. But then, it hits. That feeling. Guilt. Not a light feeling, a heavy one. The kind that sits in your chest. The kind that makes you avoid your own thoughts. And suddenly, everything becomes clear again. You remember who you are, what you believe, the standards you hold, and now there's a conflict, because what you just did, doesn't match the person you're trying to be. So what do? You pray. You say things like, "God, I'm sorry. I won't do this again. Please help me change." And in that moment, you mean it. You really do. There's sincerity, there's emotion, there's even determination. You feel like this time is different. This is the last time. And for a while, it feels like you're free. Maybe a few hours, maybe a few days, sometimes even a week. You feel stronger. You feel in control again. But then, life happens. You get stressed. You feel lonely. You get bored. Or maybe it's late at night again, and you're scrolling. Alone. No one watching. No accountability. Just you and your thoughts. And then the idea comes back. Quietly. Almost like a whisper. Just one more time. Just this once. And because you've been here before, your brain already knows the path. There's no resistance. No real fight. Just a slow drift back into the same behavior. And just like that, you're back where you said you'd never return. Again. Watch, feel guilty, pray, repeat. Over and over and over again. And here's where it gets deeper. Because it's not just the behavior anymore. It's what happens inside you. Every time this cycle repeats, something begins to change. Not just your actions, your identity. You start to feel weaker, like your words don't carry weight anymore. Because you've said, "I'll stop," so many times, it doesn't even feel real when you say it again. You start to feel ashamed, not just about what you did, but about yourself. You begin to question, why am I like this? Why can't I control myself? Why do I keep going back to the same thing I hate? And slowly, you begin to feel distant, disconnected. See, not because God moved away, but because you feel unworthy to come close. So you hesitate, you avoid, you delay prayer, you delay reading. Not because you don't believe, but because deep down, you feel like a hypocrite. And over time, this cycle does something even more dangerous. It changes what you believe is possible. At first you think, "I'll overcome this." Then it becomes, "I'm trying to overcome this." Then slowly, without even realizing it, it turns into, "Maybe this is just who I am." And that's the moment everything shifts. Because now, you're no longer fighting with expectation. You're fighting with doubt. And eventually, that doubt turns into a quiet belief. A dangerous one. Not loud, not obvious, but constant. Maybe I'll never change. That thought doesn't come all at once. It builds, slowly, over time. Through repeated failure, through broken promises, through silent disappointment. And once that belief settles in, it does something powerful. It lowers your resistance. Because if you believe you'll never change, why fight as hard? Why resist as strongly? Why even try? So the cycle continues, but now, with less hope, less effort, less expectation. And this is the real trap. Not just the action, not just the habit, but the belief that forms because of it. Because as long as you believe that you're stuck, you will act like you're stuck. That lie, "Maybe I'll never change," is not just a thought. It's a prison. And it's the reason many people stay in this cycle. Not for days, not for months, but for years, silently, privately, fighting the same battle, with less and less hope each time. And the hardest part? Most people don't even realize that this belief, not the temptation, is what's actually holding them in place. Because once you understand this, you realize something important. You're not just dealing with temptation. You're dealing with a cycle that has to be broken differently. Most people think they have a discipline problem. They think the issue is simple. If I could just try harder, if I had more self-control, if I was stronger, then this would stop. So they make promises. "I'm done. Never again. This time is different." And for a moment, it feels real. There's determination, there's emotion, there's even confidence. But then, a few days later, or maybe even the same night, they're back in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing. And now, it feels worse, because it's not just the failure, it's the confusion. Why do I keep going back to something I said I hate? And that question, that's where most people get stuck, because they keep answering it the wrong way. They say, I'm just weak. I lack discipline. I need to pray more. I need to try harder. But what if I told you the reason you keep going back is not because you're weak? It's because you've been fighting this the wrong way your entire life? Because the real problem is not just what you're doing, it's what's surrounding you. Think about it. No behavior exists in isolation. Everything you do is influenced by something. Your habits, your environment, your patterns, your triggers. But most people ignore that. They focus only on the moment of failure, not the system that led to it. Let's break that down. Your habits. You don't just decide to fall. There's usually a sequence, a pattern. You pick up your phone, you start scrolling, you see something small, then something else, and slowly, without even realizing it, you're moving closer to the edge. That's not random. That's a habit loop. And once it starts, it's hard to stop midway. Your environment. Where are you when it happens? Be honest. Late at night, lights off, door closed, phone in your hand, alone, no one watching, no interruption, no resistance. You're not just failing. You're placed in a situation that makes failure easy, almost automatic. Now think about this. If you were in a room with other people, would you still do the same thing? Probably not. So what changed? Not your discipline, your environment, your triggers. This is the part most people never pay attention to because it doesn't feel obvious. You don't fall for no reason. Something always comes first. Stress, loneliness, boredom, rejection, fatigue. And your brain has learned something over time. When I feel this is the fastest way to feel better. So it doesn't ask questions. It doesn't debate. It just pushes you toward the same behavior. Again. And now you're not just fighting temptation. You're fighting conditioning. This is why willpower alone keeps failing you. Because you're trying to fight a system with a moment of resistance. It's like trying to stop a moving train with your hands. You might slow it down for a second, but eventually it keeps going. And every time you fail, you blame yourself instead of questioning the system. But here's the truth. If nothing around you changes, nothing in you will change. If your habits stay the same, if your environment stays the same, if your triggers stay unaddressed, then no matter how many times you say, "This is the last time," you will find yourself right back in the same place. Not because you don't want to change, not because you don't love God, not because you're beyond help, but because you're trying to win a battle without changing the conditions of the fight. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because once you understand this, you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you start asking, "What needs to change around me?" Because freedom doesn't start with more pressure. See, it starts with better strategy. And the moment you change the system, you change the outcome. So the question now is not, how do I try harder? It's, how do I make it easier to win and harder to fail? It's not random. It might feel like it is, like it just happens, out of nowhere. One moment you're fine, the next moment you're back in it again. But if you slow down, if you really pay attention, you start to notice something. There are patterns, very clear ones, because this doesn't just happen at any time. It happens at specific moments, specific emotional states, specific situations. Most people fall when they feel lonely, Not just physically alone, but emotionally disconnected, like no one really sees them, no one understands them, no one is there in that moment. And in that silence, in that emptiness, the mind starts looking for something, anything, that can fill that gap, even if it's temporary, even if it's not real. Then there's stress, the pressure of life, work, school, money, expectations, trying to keep everything together, trying to be strong, trying to not fall apart. And eventually, your mind gets tired of carrying it all. It looks for release, not long-term solutions, just something immediate, something that works right now. Then comes boredom, and this one is dangerous because it feels harmless. You're just there, scrolling, killing time, nothing serious, but boredom creates space, and in that space, your mind starts wandering, looking for stimulation, looking for something more intense, something more engaging, something that breaks the monotony. And then, rejection. This one cuts deeper, because it hits identity, feeling unwanted, unseen, unappreciated, like you're not enough, like something is missing. And in those moments, the mind doesn't just want distraction, it wants validation, even if it's artificial, even if it's temporary, even if it's not real connection. And then, tiredness, late nights, low energy. When your body is exhausted, your mind doesn't fight as hard. Your defenses drop, your standards weaken, and suddenly, things you would normally resist don't feel as serious anymore. And this is where everything connects, because in all these moments, lonely, stressed, bored, rejected, tired, you're not just facing temptation, you're facing discomfort, emotional discomfort, mental pressure, internal tension. And your brain doesn't like discomfort. It doesn't want to sit in it. It doesn't want to process it. It doesn't want to endure it. It wants relief. Fast, immediate, reliable. And that's where porn steps in. Not just as pleasure, but as escape. It offers a way out, a way to not feel what you're feeling, a way to disconnect from reality, even if it's just for a few minutes. And in that moment, it works. That's the part people don't like to admit. For a short time, the stress fades, the loneliness disappears, the boredom is gone, the rejection feels less heavy, the exhaustion feels numb, and your brain notices that. Very quickly, it says, "This solved the problem. Remember this." So the next time you feel that same emotion again, your brain doesn't hesitate. It doesn't explore options. It doesn't analyze consequences. It just goes back to what worked before. And now, it's not just a decision anymore. It's a pattern, a learned response, a conditioned pathway. And every time you repeat it, that pathway gets stronger, faster, easier to access, until eventually, you don't even feel like you're choosing anymore. It just happens. And this is the part most people miss. They think they're addicted to the act, but what they're really attached to is the relief, the escape, the temporary silence, because your brain doesn't care if it's right or wrong. It doesn't care if it aligns with your values. It doesn't care if you regret it later. It only cares about one thing: what makes me feel better right now? And once it finds something that works, it will keep going back to it, again and again and again. Not because you're broken, not because you're weak, but because your brain has learned a shortcut. And until you understand that, until you recognize the pattern, until you see what's really driving it, you'll keep fighting the surface, while the real problem stays underneath. So the real question is not just, how do I stop the behavior? It's, what do I do when those feelings show up? Because if you don't deal with the trigger, you'll keep returning to the escape. Now listen carefully, because this, right here, is where most fail. They give you surface answers. Just pray more. Just have discipline. Just stop. And for a moment, That sounds right. It sounds spiritual. It sounds correct. It sounds like the answer. But if it actually worked, you wouldn't still be struggling. Because the truth is, you don't need more pressure. You don't need more guilt. You don't need another moment where you tell yourself, this time I'll be stronger. You need strategy. A real one. One that works with how your mind actually functions. Not against it. Because if you keep trying to fight this the same way you always have, you will keep getting the same result. So instead of just telling you to stop, let's break this down the right way, step by step. First solution. Remove easy access. If it's one click away, you will fall again. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Think about it. When something is always available, always accessible, always right there in your pocket, your brain doesn't have to work hard to get it. And the easier something is to access, the more likely you are to use it, especially when you're tired, especially when you're emotional, especially when your guard is down. So the goal is not just to resist. The goal is to create friction. Make it harder. Make it inconvenient. Make it take effort. Because friction breaks patterns. Delete the hidden apps. Remove private browsers. Install blockers. Unfollow accounts that trigger you. Clear saved content. Not because these things magically fix everything, but because they slow you down. And sometimes, that small delay is enough to interrupt the pattern. Enough to give your mind time to think again. Because right now, your problem is speed. The behavior happens too fast, too automatically. Friction slows it down, and once it slows down, you regain control. Next solution, fix your night routine. Let's be honest, most relapses don't happen randomly. They happen at night, late hours, lights off, phone in hand, alone. Your body is tired, your mind is drained, your discipline is low. And in that state, you don't make strong decisions. You make easy ones. That's why so many people fall at the exact same time, every single day. So instead of trying to be stronger at night, change the system. Don't sleep with your phone in your hand. Don't scroll endlessly before bed. Don't put yourself in the exact environment that leads to the same outcome. Create a boundary, a cutoff time. Put your phone away, across the room, out of reach. Replace the habit. Listen to something instead of watching. Read instead of scrolling. Pray before the urge shows up, not after you've already fallen. Because tired minds don't fight well. And if you keep entering the same night routine, you will keep getting the same result. Next, know your triggers. This is where awareness changes everything, because your behavior is not random. It's predictable. There is always something that comes before the fall, a moment, a feeling, a situation. So ask yourself honestly, when do I usually fall? What was I feeling right before it happened? Was it stress, loneliness, boredom, rejection, exhaustion? Because once you identify the trigger, you gain power. Now you're not just reacting, you're anticipating. And once you can anticipate it, you can interrupt it. Instead of waiting until you're already in the middle of temptation, you catch it earlier. I got the root. Because you're not just fighting the action anymore, you're dealing with what leads to it. And when you change what happens before, you change what happens after. 4. Accountability. This is the one most people avoid. Because it's uncomfortable, because it exposes you, because it requires honesty. But listen carefully. This struggle survives in secrecy. It grows in silence. It hides in darkness. It feeds on the fact that no one knows. Because when no one knows, there's no interruption, no resistance, no external reality check. But the moment it is exposed, something changes. The weight shifts, the pressure breaks, the illusion weakens. Because now, You're not fighting alone. Find someone you trust, not someone who will judge you, but someone who will tell you the truth. Talk. Be honest. Be real. Because silence is what keeps this cycle alive. And once that silence is broken, the grip begins to loosen. Next, spiritual alignment. You cannot ignore this part, because this is not just physical, it's spiritual. This is not just about behavior, it's about what's happening inside you, because whatever fills your mind eventually controls your actions. If your mind is constantly filled with images, thoughts, triggers, then your behavior will follow that direction. So you have to replace it, intentionally, consistently. Renew your mind, not once, not occasionally, but daily. Read, listen, reflect. Pray before temptation shows up, not just after you've already fallen. Because prevention is more powerful than recovery. And discipline matters too. Fasting, restraint, control. Not as punishment, but as training. Because the more control you build internally, the less control your impulses have over you. Transformation doesn't start outside, it starts inside. Lastly, identity shift. This is the deepest level. Stop saying, "I'm trying to stop watching porn," because that statement keeps you in the struggle. It reinforces the identity of someone who is always fighting, always failing, always trying. Instead, shift it. Say, "I'm not that person anymore." Not because you're perfect, but because you're changing. Because behavior follows identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will keep struggling. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who is disciplined, someone who is in control, someone who is free, your actions will start aligning with that belief. This is not denial, it's direction. Because the way you see yourself shapes the way you act. And once your identity changes, your behavior follows. So now the question is no longer, how do I try harder? The question becomes, how do I build a system where I don't have to rely on willpower alone? Because once you change the system, you change the outcome. And once you change the outcome, you start becoming the person you've been trying to be all along. There comes a moment. And it doesn't happen loudly. It doesn't come with a big announcement. No sudden lightning, no dramatic sign. It happens quietly, internally, almost like something just clicks. A moment where you sit back and you finally see things clearly, not emotionally, not reactively, but honestly. And in that moment, you realize something that changes everything. You're not weak. You've told yourself that for a long time, maybe without even saying it out loud. I just don't have discipline. I'm not strong enough. Other people can control themselves. Well, why can't I? And over time, that belief started to feel real. Because every time you fell, it seemed to confirm it. Every failure felt like proof. But now, you're starting to see something different. You're starting to realize that this was never just about weakness. It was about the system, the patterns you were stuck in, the habits you repeated, the environment you stayed in, the triggers you never addressed, all working together, quietly, consistently, shaping your behavior, guiding your actions, pulling you back into the same cycle, over and over again. And because you didn't see the system, you blamed yourself. You thought the problem was you, when in reality, you were placed in conditions that made failure easier than success. Think about that. If someone is put in the same situation every day, with the same triggers, the same environment, the same access, and they keep getting the same result, is it really just a lack of discipline? Or is it the system they're trapped in? And this is where everything shifts, because now, you're no longer asking, "What's wrong with me?" You're asking, What's been shaping me? And that question, that's the beginning of freedom. Because once you see the system, it loses its invisibility, and what is seen can be changed. You begin to notice things you ignored before, the moments leading up to the fall, the emotions that trigger it, the patterns that repeat, the environments that make it easy, and suddenly, what once felt uncontrollable starts to feel understandable, and what is understood can be interrupted. You realize something powerful. You were never powerless. You were just unaware. And awareness is the first step to control, because now you can pause, you can step back, you can make a different decision, not because you suddenly became stronger overnight, but because you finally see what's happening. And when you see it, you stop reacting blindly. You start choosing. This is the turning point, not when temptation disappears, but when confusion disappears. Because before, it felt like something that just happened to you. Now, you see the pattern, you see the setup, you see the cycle, and once you see it clearly, you can break it. Not all at once, not perfectly, but intentionally. Because breaking a system doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness and consistent change. Small shifts, repeated over time, changing your environment, interrupting your habits, responding differently to your triggers. And each time you do that, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen a new one. And here's the most important part. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is stuck. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is always failing. And you start seeing yourself as someone who is learning, adjusting, growing. Because the truth is, you were never meant to stay in that cycle. You were just never shown how to step out of it. And now that you see it, now that you understand it, now that you recognize what's been happening, you're no longer trapped the same way, because the system only works when you don't see it. And once you see it, it begins to lose its power. So no, you're not weak. You've just been fighting something you didn't fully understand. But now you do, and that changes everything. So the question is no longer, can I change? It's, what will I do now that I finally see it? God is not shocked by your struggle. He's not surprised by it. He's not sitting there thinking, I didn't expect this from you. Because he already knows. Every moment, every thought, every time you said, this is the last time, and it wasn't. He saw it. Not just the action, but the struggle behind it, the frustration, the disappointment, the moments where you sat there afterward, feeling like you let yourself down. He knows, not from a distance, but completely. And yet, he's still here. That alone should tell you something, because if your struggle was enough to push him away, he would have left already. But he didn't, and he hasn't. Because your struggle does not disqualify you. It doesn't erase your identity. It doesn't cancel your purpose. It doesn't make you unworthy of change. But at the same time, he's not calling you to stay there. He's not saying, just accept it. Just live with it. Just keep repeating the same cycle forever. No, there's more for you than this. More than the guilt. More than the hiding. More than the constant cycle of trying and failing. And deep down, you know that. That's why it bothers you. That's why it weighs on you. That's why you keep saying, I don't want this anymore. Because a part of you knows you weren't meant to live like this. You are not too far gone. It might feel like it. After all the times you've tried. After all the times you've fallen. After all the promises you've broken. It's easy to start believing, maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I've messed up too much. Maybe I'm just stuck like this. But that's not the truth. That's the weight of repetition, trying to convince you that change is no longer possible, but it is. You are not stuck. It may feel like a loop you can't escape. Like no matter what you do, you end up back in the same place. But loops can be broken, patterns can be interrupted, systems can be changed, and the moment something changes, even something small, the outcome starts to change too. You are not beyond change, not because you suddenly become perfect, but because growth doesn't happen all at once. It happens step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. And every time you make a different decision, you move further away from the person you were and closer to the person you're becoming. And here's the truth most people miss. You've just been fighting the wrong way. You've been trying to win this battle with willpower alone, while everything around you was set up for you to lose. You've been focusing on the moment of failure instead of the system behind it. You've been blaming yourself instead of changing what's influencing you. But now, you see it differently. Now you understand. It's not just about trying harder. It's about changing how you fight. And the moment you change your strategy, everything changes. Not instantly, not perfectly, but progressively. Because now, you're not just reacting. You're aware. You're not just hoping. You're intentional. You're not just stuck in a cycle. You're stepping out of it. And one day, you'll look back at this moment, not as the place where you failed again, but as the moment everything started to shift. The moment you stopped seeing yourself as weak and started understanding what was really happening. The moment you stopped fighting blindly and started fighting wisely. The moment you realized you were never as stuck as you thought. And that's where change begins. If this spoke to you, don't just watch past it, because the things we ignore are often the things that keep us stuck. Be honest in the comments, not for anyone else, but for yourself. How many times have you said, "This is the last time," and meant it? You're not alone. And if this helped you see things differently, share it with someone who needs it, because there are more people struggling with this than anyone is willing to admit. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of clarity to start changing everything. Kindly subscribe to this channel and I will see you in the next video. Good night and God bless you.